So this video is going to be my review for update 2.7 in Marvel's Avengers, which just dropped within the past week. So if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. So the first thing I will start with is Bucky, the Winter Soldier. So I will say, with the Echo characters coming out now with Jane Foster and now the Winter Soldier, if you want to even call them Echo characters in that sense, I don't even think they're calling them in that official capacity, but that's what people have kind of been referring to them as. Echo character obviously being the term that I believe originated with Smash Ultimate, where there were characters that were very similar to each other, like Samus and then Dark Sam. I forget if that's even the name for Dark Samus, but it's been a while since I played Smash Ultimate. But they're so similar, so therefore they've been calling them Echo characters and stuff like that. So with Bucky, I will say I feel like they're getting pretty good at making these Echo characters, quote unquote, if we're calling them that, feel like their own thing. And I mean, they are their own thing, but obviously they take and borrow from other people's kit. I mean, even when Jane Foster comes out, I don't hate Jane Foster whatsoever, but she's very clearly an echo of Thor. Like, she takes and borrows from Thor, and she puts her own little spin on it with some things, and, it does make her fun, but at the end of the day, she still very much feels like a Thor. I will say the difference now with the Winter Soldier, with Bucky, is that he feels like a perfect mix of all the melee characters in the game, minus like Hulk and stuff like that, obviously, because it's Hulk. But he feels like the perfect mix of like Captain America, Black Widow, Black Panther, and Spider-Man, honestly. And what makes this really cool, too, is that because it's a mix of all these different characters, it makes him feel like his own thing, because now you can mix different characters' kits with each other in ways that you wouldn't be able to before. Like, for example, you wouldn't have been able to mix like Captain America's combos and stuff with Black Panther's intrinsic attacks, but now you can do similar things with Bucky, because Bucky has a slightly similar intrinsic system as to Black Panther, and Bucky has a lot of combos similar to Captain America, so it makes that really fun and makes him feel unique. One of the best things I also appreciate about Bucky, which I'm hoping is not a glitch, there are two things that I'm hoping is not, that they don't eventually patch. The first thing is his intrinsic running. So as most of you probably already know, like with Captain America, while you're running, you can hold R2 and he runs faster with his shield up, but it depletes his intrinsic. Now with Bucky can do the same thing, except he runs super fast like that without consuming any intrinsic at all. I don't know if that's a glitch. I don't know if it's supposed to consume intrinsic, but as of right now, as of the time I'm making this video, it doesn't consume any intrinsic at all. And not only that, but in my opinion, I haven't tested it out, but I feel like he runs faster than Captain America does when he's doing his intrinsic run. So I don't know if this is a byproduct of them kind of experimenting with the traversals, because they said they're looking into new traversal options for people like Captain America, Black Panther, and the Hulk. I don't know if Bucky's current intrinsic run is a byproduct of that, but either way, I hope it's not a glitch, and I hope it stays the same. I hope the speed stays the same, and I hope that it doesn't consume any intrinsic. I feel like it would be really awesome if they made Captain America's very similar and Black Panther's similar to this now, where if you hold R2, they at least run just as fast. I feel like for Captain America, they could do a workaround for him losing intrinsic, where if he's just running like that, he doesn't lose any intrinsic, but if he's blocking things actively with his shield, then he does. I feel like is the best way they should go about it, but that's just my opinion. So that's one of my favorite things about Bucky, is his intrinsic run. The second thing is that he is kind of technically the best character in the game right now because of an exploit. Now, I'll be completely honest, this exploit is 100% going to get patched. It 100% is. And if you're not familiar with it, I will put my link to the recommended video at the end of this video will be to my Bucky build, which I use the exploit in to do a lot of damage in, so you'll see that in action. But basically, if you have his ultimate heroic specialization where you can do infinite fully auto bullets, well, I mean infinite bullets in general, when you activate his ultimate heroic, if you're on suppressing fire at first, which is the 3-round burst, if you hold R2 to charge it for the piercing shot, which is his power attack, if you hold R2 to charge it, and then before letting go, if you switch to fully auto and then you let go, you're just now infinitely shooting, and each fully auto shot is doing the damage of what would be the piercing shot. So every fully auto shot is doing like 100,000 plus, which is supposed to be what the piercing shot is doing. So it's just absolutely insane. It currently makes him the best character in the game. I definitely foresee it as unfortunately being something that they're going to patch. I hope it takes them a while, or, I'll hold out hope. I hope they don't do it at all, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in them not doing it at all. But I hope it holds out for a while so we can get our fun out of it. Without the exploit, though, I also will say Bucky's not bad without the exploit whatsoever. I was originally going for a build that was battery effect from the knife damage, because you can just have a status effect on knife attacks in general. And it was still very, very viable. It's just not nearly as viable as the infinite fully auto piercing shot damage exploit that's going on right now. But overall, I do really like what they did with Bucky. Like I said, they made him feel like a very unique character, so I really like what they did with it. And I will not be mad if this is how they treat more Echo characters in the future, and they put more different ways to make them feel like their own unique character. Now on to the Cloning Lab Omega level threat, which is 175 baseline to 185 for the new max level cap. So I'll be completely honest. So the content for the Omega level threat I really did enjoy, minus the 3-button puzzle, simply because I'm kind of tired of them putting in these puzzles that require some amount of communication. I understand them wanting us to play multiplayer with people. That's absolutely fine. They can still make all this content multiplayer, and it is what it is. But when you add these puzzles that require a little bit or some form of communication, it's going to turn people away, because number one, people aren't always going to want to talk to other random people that they're playing with, and number two, you don't know if the other random person you're playing with wants to communicate like that, and you don't know if they're going to know what they're doing. There could also be, language barriers and stuff like that. It just kind of makes it a hassle trying to get through it with random people sometimes. So the 3-button puzzle I don't necessarily like too much. I will say it's not as bad as like any of the communication that's required in the raid, because with this 3-button puzzle, I'm pretty sure you can at least kill all of the waves of enemies and have a brief period before they start respawning again, and that's when you can press the buttons and have plenty of leeway with it. So it's not nearly as bad as things in the raid, but it still is kind of annoying that it is there, I will say. With the MODOK fight, I actually really do like what they did with MODOK, because they made him really tanky in terms of how much damage he's taking. So his defense is like really high and stuff like that. So it makes the fight drawn out. He's not as hard as the Super Adaptoid, whereas she'll just kill you within the first 30 seconds or something like that. But he's difficult enough to where the length of the fight could make it hard if other people don't know what they're doing. So I did really enjoy the MODOK fight. The worst part about the Omega level threat were absolutely the cutscenes. And I saw someone point out, it looks like they're trying to do like in-game cutscenes as opposed to pre-rendered cutscenes like in the story mode and stuff like that. And this was evident in not only the Omega level threat, but also the No Rest for the Wicked villain sector. I'm just going to be completely honest. They need to either go back to the pre-rendered cutscenes, or they need to spend more time working on these live in-game cutscenes that they're trying to do, because they're just not good. They look awful. A lot of people just play this game because it's fun now, obviously. I mean, some people might disagree with that, but a lot of people still play this game because they find it fun. For people like me as well, who are also still trying to follow the story tidbits and stuff like that, it's like I just get completely taken out of it when I see a cutscene that's like as bad as the cutscenes that we got in this Omega level threat. So the cutscenes were just absolutely awful. Like they just were. They were just the worst part of the OLT. It kind of takes you out of it at the end. So they were just absolutely awful. So now I will say, moving on from the OLT, there are some more things that they kind of stealth added. So they added gear to the Mega Hive. Specifically, they added the minor artifacts, where you can from that are the corrupted vibranium minor artifacts, where you have a chance of getting the ones that have melee critical attacks, granting a vibranium payload. I will say this is absolutely a fantastic choice for them to add to the Mega Hive, because it gives people a reason to go back and farm the Mega Hive again, and those minor ISOs are really important for melee battery effect builds. So the fact that they made those more readily accessible to farm and stuff without doing the corrupted vibranium event or the raid, I enjoyed a lot. And then along with the Mega Hive, they also added exotic and legendary minor artifacts. which you can get you have a chance of getting a legendary minor artifact, I believe, from the Mega Hive, and then you have a chance of getting an exotic or legendary minor artifact from the new cloning lab, OLT. Now, I will say I'm glad that they're adding exotic and legendary minor artifacts like that. I do think it's a really smart idea. With that being said, I don't know how strong the viability is going to be right now for those, because they're mainly going to be based around, from what I've seen, the new type of, not meta, but the new gear that they're rolling in with the OLT, the nanite augment gear, which I'm not entirely sure how good that's going to be. It looks like it has a lot of potential. I would just need to put together a build of it in action to see just how viable it is. Basically, the way it looks like, the nanite elemental effect, if I can think of the word, status effect breaks down. It seems like it breaks down, so like, if you have a gear perk that gives you like 5 plasma augments on some type of activation or something like that, it adds plasma effect to your light attacks for 5 attacks. Like when it gives you 5 augments, that's 5 attacks basically. So that's how I'm to understand how it's done. So theoretically, if you had something like Vibranium on your light combo finisher, and then you had like Gamma nanite augments given to you, you would be doing Gamma on your normal light attacks, and then on your light combo finisher, you would do Vibranium, which could create a battery effect off of your light attacks and your light combo finisher alone, which is cool. It's definitely a cool thing that they added, but I just don't know how viable that'll be with the Sonic and Vibranium battery effect build. That's usually the meta in way to go right now. But, you know, that remains to be seen until a lot of people get all this new gear and try it out and get to 185 and stuff like that. But that wraps up my review for Update 2.7. I would say overall, I would give it probably an 8 out of 10, with really just -2 because of those damn cutscenes. That's how bad those cutscenes were. They were really that awful where it's just -2. But I like Bucky a lot. I like the content of the cloning lab decently. And then I like that they added the melee critical Vibranium payload ISO to the Mega Hive, and how they added exotic and legendary minor artifacts and stuff. I forget if I mentioned, the reason why I think the exotic and legendary minor artifacts aren't going to be as viable is because of the stats. Because usually when you do builds, you want focus stats, and those don't seem to have focus stats. It seemed like they're able to have 2 of the same stat, but not 3. If they were able to have 3 of the same stat, I would say absolutely those would be more viable. But I don't know. It just remains to be seen right now. But comment down below how you enjoyed Update 2.7. If you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content, and I appreciate you for watching the video.